Hanse, good afternoon. I'm Christian Ashkete. Welcome to APTN National News Daytime. BC RCMP have made a number of arrests against land defenders involved in the Fairy Creek logging protest in Upper Walbran Valley on Vancouver Island. So far, APTN News has yet to confirm the arrests with the RCMP, but according to the land protectors, between 40 to 50 RCMP officers arrived at their forest protection camp on Monday morning, just after 9 a.m., and arrested up to 4 people, including Mohawk musician Logan Stotts. The land protectors also alleged that on November 25th, the RCMP set fire to many of their camp structures, including personal property. APTN News spoke with Logan Stotts last Friday about protecting the old growth forests in Upper Walbran Valley. During that time, he said there were also arrests previously from the RCMP.
There was several arrests, some peaceful land defenders were arrested a couple days ago. They're in the process of rebuilding the camp. And yesterday we had another visit from RCMP and law enforcement. So we're expecting the worst.
18 months ago, Roseanne Archibald, the former first female national chief of the Assembly of First Nations, launched a lawsuit against the AFN's then executive committee. Late last week, Archibald announced on social media that the case has since reached a new phase. Archibald called it the discovery stage of her lawsuit. She says for the past 18 months, settlement discussions were stalled and stonewalled by the AFN due to a lack of response. However, Archibald says the matter is now before Ontario's Superior Court, where she says truth, evidence, and accountability can finally be fully examined. In July of 2023, Archibald was removed as national chief before she could finish her first term and was later blocked from participating in the AFN's AGA. Archibald is seeking $5 million in damages for breach of contract, oppression, and for legal fees from 2021 to 2022 and legal fees for her unlawful suspension after. In a statement of claim, Archibald said her and the former AFN national chief, Perry Bellegarde, butted heads over what has been called serious issues regarding the way the AFN and the executive committee were run. When she raised these issues, Bellegarde embarked on a campaign to retaliate against her for challenging authoritarian, gender discriminatory, misogynistic, patriarchal, manipulative, and non-democratic manner in which he ran the AFN, the claim said. The claim also said Archibald had a goal to revitalize and politically restructure the AFN. However, it was perceived as a threat by the AFN's executive committee at the time. Some of the executive committee named in the lawsuit includes AFN National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepenak, Senator Paul Prosper, and BC Regional Chief Terry Teegee. APTN News reached out to the defendant's lawyer for comment but did not hear back. None of the allegations have been tested in court. You can read more about this story from our Red reporter, Leanne Saunders, by going to aptnnews.ca. The Manitoba Métis Federation has launched 2 lawsuits against the province of Manitoba for its role in the 60s scoop. In what is now known as forced assimilation, thousands of Indigenous children were removed from their families and placed in non-Indigenous households where they lost connection to their culture, language, and community. One is a class action for individual Red River Métis scoop survivors seeking justice for their resulting trauma. The class period runs from 1939 to 1991. The second proceeding is against Manitoba and Canada on behalf of Red River Métis as a collective. It seeks recognition and compensation for lasting harms inflicted by the scoop against Red River Métis as Indigenous people. The MMF says thousands of Red River Métis were victimized and the collective wounds remain unaddressed. Métis survivors were excluded from a 2017 federal 60 scoop class action settlement where only status Indians and Inuit were eligible. According to officials, it's been difficult finding a home for a supervised drug consumption site in central Winnipeg due to child safety concerns from residents in the area. Now, a new location has been proposed with those worries in mind. The Manitoba government's proposed supervised consumption site, or SCS, at 366 Henry Avenue in Winnipeg is located a block away from the Siloam Mission Shelter and Soup Kitchen. Addictions Minister Bernadette Smith says people need services like this in the area. The new spot will be more than 250 meters away from any school or registered childcare facility, unlike the last proposed site, which was across a multiple-lane freeway from a school, a point of contention for some residents. The SCS will not supply substances, but allow users to bring their own drugs to a monitored facility to prevent overdose deaths, of which there were a suspected 570 in Winnipeg in just 2024 alone. The Manitoba government will consult with residents about the proposed site through 2 community sessions facilitated by a local research firm this week. 3 days of meetings are underway that will determine the future of Denison Mine's Wheeler River project in northern Saskatchewan. If approved, the site will be prepared for construction of the new uranium mine. The Wheeler River project is a mine and mill proposed for the Athabasca Basin, 35 kilometers southwest of the McArthur River uranium mine. The Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission is holding the meetings to review technical details and ensure Denison meets its duty to consult with affected Indigenous groups. The hearings will include input from impacted First Nations to address their concerns and priorities before approval can be given. Last week, Métis Nation Saskatchewan signed an impact benefit agreement with Denison, giving their approval for the project. Last Friday, a Court of King's Bench justice ruled that a referendum by the province of Alberta separating from Canada is unconstitutional and violates treaty rights. A citizen-submitted referendum question asks if Alberta should become a sovereign country and cease to be a province in Canada. Last May, Premier Danielle Smith stated if a citizen-submitted referendum question gathered enough signatures, it would be included in a 2026 referendum. No signatures have been gathered as of today. Several First Nation groups and nations are opposed to the idea of Alberta separating, including Chief Alan Adam.
Citizens-initiated referendum is supposed to be permissive. It's not supposed to have a whole pile of gatekeepers standing in the way of questions that the public want to ask in good faith. And what we've been observing is that whether it's the chief electoral officer or the court, they seem to want to approve the ones they like and hold up the ones they don't like. And that's not democracy.
It just goes to show that, Danielle Smith and the UCP government can't rule Alberta with a thumb and just expect to go wherever they want to go. The courts have made decisions that without treaty, First Nations people don't even talk about separation without their consent.
A First Nation in southern Saskatchewan is assisting the city of Regina with its waste issue. That story when we come back. Welcome back. It was announced on Monday that the City of Regina and the Cowessess First Nation in southern Saskatchewan is partnering to build the city's new composting facility. CTV's Donovan Mays has that story.
The City of Regina and Cowessess First Nation are partnering to get the city's new compost facility up and running.
This new facility is going to help the city reach its target of diverting 65% of our waste from our landfill.
This project will create skilled jobs, strengthening long-term economic sovereignty for Cowessess First Nation.
It comes after the city first planned in 2023 to build its food and yard waste processing plant near Pilot Butte, a location the town and its residents strongly opposed, ultimately leading to Regina having to terminate the contract earlier this year.
We've had many conversations with lots of different food and yard waste processors, lots of different technologies. This proposal was incredibly strong and the city was very excited to go down this pathway.
Cowessess, through its ownership of Oasis Organic Limited, plans to build the new plant about 3 kilometers east of Regina along Highway 33 on land the First Nation already owns near its solar farm and renewable energy storage facility. The plant will eliminate more than 17,000 tons of organic waste from entering the city's landfill, therefore extending its life and saving costs.
It's not a new technology, it's been around forever.
Oasis says the byproduct the plant produces, called biochar, also has important industrial uses.
It mitigates the use of commercial fertilizers. They do have a lot of chemical compounds And our focus is to offset the use of the commercial fertilizer by using a more natural, regenerative product such as biochar.
Now, WASIS plans to begin construction on the new composting facility in the spring, with hopes it is fully operational by the fall of 2026. Donovan May, CTV News, Regina.
Nova Scotia is known for all kinds of storms, which blows over trees that in turn contribute to wildfires. A Mi'kmaq community is preparing for next year's fire season with new technology that aligns with Mi'kmaq values. APTN video journalist Angel Moore reports.
Jamie Lee Gihu is from the Sabaganagati First Nation. She is the community's emergency measures officer and stopped by the BioBurn Pros demonstration, a new partnership to help protect her community from forest fires.
Once I got the assessment done from FireSmart and I seen the results and I seen how much of a high risk we actually are for wildfire, I just took the initiative to find somewhere that somebody could help us mitigate and create a mitigation plan to help us minimize our risk to fire.
BioBurn has mobile burn chambers that can be deployed to a site where wood debris is burned at a high temperature so it is smoke-free. About 8 tons of wood can be burned per hour, important for a province where storms can leave behind a massive amount of wood debris, potential fuel for a forest fire. Joe Lewis is the president of BioBurn Pros and says the byproduct of the burning is returned to the earth.
And that value is through biochar. That's what's left at the end of the burn, is just the char. We've come to find out that that char will actually retain carbon back into the ground for decades, and it helps protect against drought. So then the soil is more resilient in fire times. The plants are more resilient as well.
Sabaganagati First Nation is the first community to partner with BioBurn Pros, and Lewis welcomes working with more First Nations.
So we come to find out that not only are we preventing fire, we're giving back to the earth. And again, being stewards of the land and giving back to the earth is at the core of the values of the First Nations. And they've seen a great marriage between what we do as an operation and what they believe in as a community.
Gihu is impressed and says the technology aligns with Mi'kmaq beliefs, taking care of the land.
They not only burn smokeless, but they create a substance called biochar, which can be returned back to the earth, and it's something that we can benefit from it.
Gihu says the fire prevention project will include a fire break and provide employment.
I will be hiring people within my community to do the inside of the community, because these guys are going to be doing the perimeter of my community to create a fire break around the entire perimeter. So our community members will be doing the mitigation work on the inside of it.
Angel Moore, APTN National News, Jabuktuk, also called Halifax.
The city of Yellowknife will be opening its doors to a facility armed with programs and services they hope will offer a way out of homelessness and into permanent housing and employment. Our APTN reporter Charlotte Moore Jacobs takes us on a tour of the new facility.
Anyone entering this facility has a clear, supported plan and pathway.
A path forward that doesn't end at a shelter bed. That's what this new transitional housing facility on the outskirts of Yellowknife will offer 24 Northerners.
The facility will offer residents privacy, stability, and a safe environment to focus on life skills, case management, and long-term planning.
The territorial government is contracting the Yellowknife Women's Society to operate the space, which will serve clients who find themselves between emergency shelters and permanent independent housing. Arlene Hache is the Society's interim director. She says respect and representation are non-negotiable, born from lived experience.
Every person moving into this building will have an individualized plan that will talk about, their strengths, challenges they're facing at the moment, and then the steps they need to take to move out.
Scheduled transportation will be available between the site and various areas of Yellowknife. The facility includes a kitchen and a walk-in fridge and freezer, a dining room, a gathering space, office and training space, laundry room, private bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, and even a honeymoon suite. Well, not quite, but the society is adamant to meet the clients where they're at.
Well, yeah, a lot of people don't go into shelters because they're couples. That's right.
The facility is also rethinking how gender is understood within emergency and transitional spaces. Even as the organization's name shifts, the cultural learning continues.
You might know the Yellowknife Women's Society is actually recreating itself to reflect what we do, which is to support all genders.
According to the most recent point-in-time count, over 90% of those experiencing homelessness in Yellowknife identify as Indigenous.
Like, how long do you expect the transition to take place?
Thanks to partnerships with other organizations, residents at the transitional housing facility.
It's a mistake to even talk about a time limit for anyone.
Will have access to mental health and cultural supports and training programs like digital and literacy skills and job readiness. But a central question remains. Where will clients move out to? Hache says transitional housing only works if there are viable, sustainable options beyond its doors.
So we have to do a lot of work, in my opinion, with landlords. We are looking at different other housing options for permanent housing and affordable rent.
Yellowknife Women's Society received $5 million from the GNWT for operating the facility from December 2025 till April 2028.
Housing is a right. This is an essential service, and it's money well spent.
Meanwhile, first things first, move-in date is anticipated for December 15th. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
We now want to tell you about this week's new web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, do you feel the court rulings will lead to real improvements in water access and housing for First Nations? This is regarding yesterday's web story from Karen Pugliese. You can answer yes, no, or unsure. Go to our website at aptnnews.ca/poll to have your say. We continue with our 12 Days of Language segment right after the break. Stay with us. On the East Coast, St. John's -6, Charlottetown -9 and sunny. Cartwright -16, Happy Valley, Goose Bay, clear skies and -14. -16 in Quebec City, St. Jovite -17. Toronto, cloudy and -3. Sault Ste. Marie -5. Big Trout Lake -20, Sioux Lookout -15. Norway House -16, The Paw -14. In Winnipeg, it's -10, Gimli -10. Regina 0 and flurries, Saskatoon -9 and flurries there as well. Clear skies in Buffalo Narrows at -17, La Ronge -15. -22 in Peace River, Grand Prairie -21. -1 in Calgary, Edmonton -14. Rain in Tofino at 10, Penticton 8. Smithers -5, Fort Nelson -31. -36 in Dawson, Mayo -37. -33 in Wrigley, Watee -30. -18 in Fort McPherson, Pawlatuck -21. Chesterfield -23, Whale Cove -22. And Iqaluit -17, Iqaluit -14. Northern athletes will have to wait an extra year between Arctic Winter Games following next year's event in Whitehorse. The Arctic Winter Games International Committee says the Games will now be held every 3 years, a change from the previous 2-year schedule. The major multi-sport event brings together more than 2,000 young athletes from across the circumpolar north. Officials say the change will give host communities more time for planning and operational readiness. As a result, 2 future games scheduled for 2028 and 2030 will be pushed back. The 3-year cycle will be in effect until 2032. Time now for our segment about Indigenous languages and the holiday season. It's APTN News version of the 12 Days of Christmas. And with 11 work days left until Christmas, we bring you some Plains Cree teachings.
My name is Wayne Faithful. I'm from Frog Lake, Alberta. I've been living in Winnipeg for past 15 years. First language is Cree, Plains Cree, as was raised by my grandmother and mom. And my grandma was a spiritual individual. So when it came to that Christmas time, very particular in making sure that we had plenty of food. Food was a huge factor for her to show them that the house was a place of love. Asam. The word is asam, to feed. You could go further, go asam haisino, means to feed the person. Feasts, at the end of the day, is a very important ceremony, and so there's a few purposes for feast. To feed the relatives that passed on, and so we always had to smudge the food. That was always a big thing, smudging the food. Then the feast to celebrate any other thing. Any other, like it could be accomplishments amongst a certain family member, maybe he or she graduated. The other biggest thing for Christmas was miyagasagi is the other word. Miyagasagi is smudging. And of course that's all over, not just us Plains Cree, but the other Native tribes. That was a huge factor, because then you're inviting the spirits to also join in on your meal, past relatives, because at the end of the day you do make a plate of food, a small plate of food as an offering. Miyagasagi.
Miyagasagi.
And that's smudging in Cree. I guess not just Christmas, but our normal teacher, everything was surrounded around food.
Big thanks to T.R. Wheatley and the rest of our operations team for that segment. He was the first First Nations man to get the senior rank brigade sergeant major this past year. And now Chief Warrant Officer Joel Pedersen joins us in an all-new face-to-face tonight after our evening newscast. Pedersen also worked for 25 years with the Saskatoon Police Service, joining at a time when the Starlight Tours issue came to light. Here's a preview of that question from his sit-down interview with T.R. Wheatley.
The Neil Stonechild story is, I think it's a very well-known one, and it's such an unfortunate ending to that young man's life. For myself, just getting onto the police service as that was just kind of happening or had just finished, I didn't have a lot of knowledge about what had happened, nor did I really know about the tours that were described. And I can honestly say that at no time in my career did I participate or see that happen. But not trying to put a blind eye on it, it did happen, and it did continue to happen, but it wasn't uniquely just to Saskatoon. And I know there was a lot of other police agencies that were doing similar kind of practices, because it was not policy. It wasn't right. They knew that.
And make sure to watch that all-new face-to-face episode with T.R. Wheatley later today, right after our evening newscast. That's all the time we have for our daytime newscast. Dennis Ward is back for your evening newscast in a few hours. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News, hi miigwech masi cho. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again. Ekse.